International delegates drawn from government, industry, universities and civil society held a 3-day workshop at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Nairobi between the 10th and 12th June 2015 to explore and share ideas and approaches on pathways towards developing low-carbon economies in Africa. There were high-level discussions on how to encourage low-carbon development and promote pro-poor energy development. These included the High Commissioner of Malawi to Kenya, Dr. Pax Ligoya, the Ambassador of Ethiopia to Kenya, Dina Mufti, and Dr. Julius Kipngetich from Equity Bank, among others.
Africa has an opportunity to undertake some kind of leapfrogging, both environmental and technological. And the idea of leapfrogging is that Africa must grow at a much faster rate than any other regional economies. Its pathway of economic growth must be different from that followed by countries that went in before because of the expected impacts of climate change. So we must grow at a much faster rate, but also do that in a clean way.
Dr. Ligoya observed that though we have sufficient resources to meet our energy needs, the technological innovations and related socio-economic policies have to be tailored to African contexts.
What I wanted to reflect on is all these global issues that we are talking about. What does it mean for Africa and what does it mean for Kenya? And of course, we are talking about low carbon development, perhaps not focusing a lot on issues relating to carbon lock-in. Carbon lock-in is coming in as a terminology, people are starting to use it, but how does it reflect in the infrastructure and the development that we are doing? I think there's a big gap. And apart from that, what I feel for Africa and for Kenya as a whole, infrastructure lock-in is the biggest issue. Are we locking in resources and infrastructure today so that this is actually going to not move to a low carbon pathway in the future?
Africa is only responsible for 4% of global emissions. I think that's a very telling statistic. I just want to make people aware that we at the STEP Centre are also working on low carbon pathways.
Key to STEP Centre's approach to sustainability is the pathways approach, which recognizes that there is no single pathway to sustainability. Rather, there exist multiple pathways and, backed by a variety of practical methods, helps open up space for more plural and dynamic sustainabilities. Among the key issues discussed included pathways which can ostensibly transform Africa out of energy poverty and case studies of pro-poor, low-carbon energy research in Africa.
With the Sustainability Hub, to be able to not only move forward in terms of transforming the continent towards a low-carbon pathway, it is imperative to be able to harness the knowledge that exists, to aggregate the knowledge that exists, to put it in such a way that it can be able to present the gaps that the continent has.
People who are not yet born, who will be born, live and die, and not have electricity. That is just wrong. It's unjust, and that business as usual needs to be turned on its head.
If the research arena can build evidence, we can use it to influence policymakers. It would be nice if we can have like consumer-friendly policies that really stimulate demand.
Delegates discussed how to address key knowledge gaps in this field in ways that engage with all stakeholders and how to achieve pro-poor energy access in Africa.
There's need to understand the different geographical mapping and landscape. They need to understand social cultural background, which really influence uptake of a technology, either uptake and success of uptake of technology or failure. One of the issues that was a gap that was really identified in finance session is being able to focus or to strengthen trickling down of finance from a national level to the community level, and being able to finance solution to energy access as opposed to dwelling so much on the problem and not financing the solution to the problem. Let the users determine their needs and priorities, and then with that, then research, science, policy and technology will come and strengthen that to enable projects that are successful and that builds on the community needs. There was the need to tweak engineering such that the appliances will be affordable, accessible, and capacity building was really emphasized to make sure that the end users will be able to use the technology.
During the conference, the Africa Sustainability Hub was launched by the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Natural Resources, Professor Judy Wahungu, on behalf of Honorable Henry Rotich, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury of Kenya. The hub is part of the STEPS Global Consortium and the first ever in Africa. It focuses on pro-poor, low-carbon development in Africa.
The consortium aims to build evidence-based tools and methods and research capacity for reconceiving and tackling today's urgent sustainability challenges. It seeks to understand and support the co-design of pathways to sustainability, integrating environmental integrity and social justice.
It was concluded that research is a key priority in articulating a low-carbon development agenda for action.
The African Science, Technology, Innovation Strategy for Africa, STISA 2024, has just been endorsed by the Assembly of the Head of States in June. And this strategy will give a directions and a clear guideline for the development of the science and technology, as well as the aspirations of the African continent, where the vision of the African Union to see prosperous Africa driven by its own citizens and to be reckoned as a global force within the international arenas. There is no right time to form this hub than now.
I appreciate the opportunity that African Center for Technology hosting this conference, Low Carbon Development in Africa. It is one of the kind that Africa needs, so that you bring together think tanks to explore ideas they have been discussing, their research world, academia world, private sector world, together, and me now to connect on a wider network, learn from what is happening in Europe, and implement in a local scale.